Hello and welcome back to my number 3 in the Gnomoria series. Um, so last one I focused primarily on my farms and on everything else, like my pastures and whatnot, but now I really want to get my mine underway. Now I'm going crazy and I am having them mine a whole entire floor. Reason I'm doing this is because I will eventually, not at the current moment, but eventually I'll need a lot of materials, especially this copper and stuff like that. So, and coal will be important and gems will be very important. So I just want them to get the floor out of the way. It's already empty. They've mined everything I need them to mine out of it. Um, and it's all sitting there, and over time, as everybody's idle and don't have anything to do, they will be moving this ore up to my stockpile, and it will be closer to where I need it to be, which is awesome. So yeah, that is that. Still got this guy working on all this stuff, and I actually will not be really replacing any more floor because it takes my builders away from doing that, and I really need them to do that. Um, but I do need to set up my lumber camps. It's not a huge matter of importance, but it is somewhat important that I get it done sooner rather than later, because everything in this game builds over time, and I don't just mean that it grows. I mean that like your skills build over time for your gnomes, so they will cut or farm or mine or just even move. Like look how fast that guy's moving, But if I watch some other of them, they'll move slower because they don't have a high amount of hauling. And so as they move things over and over and over, their speed will pick up, and their speed while holding items will be decreased less and less. And if we actually watch these guys cutting trees, we can see that this guy's going a little bit faster than she is, just a little bit. And I'll bet you he cuts about 10 trees in the time she cuts about 9. So over time, she will cut about 10 in the time she used to cut 9. He'll cut 11 or 12. So just overall, it will become very apparent later on when I get new miners, and like my old miners are just blowing through, just mining through walls, like even like gems and ore, like it doesn't even matter. And the new ones will just be sitting on a block for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, just cut through the block. Come on, guys. It's not that hard. Just pick the pickaxe up. But yeah, and that goes with everything, crafting, everything. So a lot of the times, what I would used to do is I used to over assign my professions, but hopefully I will have some new gnomes coming in on the first day of summer. I may not. All of that is dependent on my total worth before I get new gnomes. If I get new gnomes, I will show you what I do when they come in versus what I used to do, and which obviously you probably have never seen me do that unless you watch my videos on my other channel. But anyway, what's really cool is you can actually just choose the gnome and tell them exactly what you want them to do, and they will do just those skills. And so, for example, this guy doesn't have mining. So when I tell my gnomes, hey, I need stuff mined, he's never going to go mine. He doesn't have that skill chosen. He would never go do that. But I do have him have hauling because I need him to pick stuff up. Actually, it can become very much of an issue if I need him to craft stuff, but I don't have hauling on him. He actually has to have another gnome bring it, and they'll never bring it because they would just craft it then. But if they don't, you have to have certain skills that interchange before they'll actually work. But I'm glad that I got my farms down. They're much more important than my my tree farm. And I actually want to make my... Oh, I don't have a cotton farm yet, so I'm going to get that just set up as well. And I'm going to make that less important than the rest of my... so it's less of a priority. than the rest of my farms. The reason being, I don't need cotton to survive, and actually over time I will have a ridiculous amount of cotton, and it won't even matter because I'm not even using it as fast, and that's only on one 10 by 10 farm. So you'll learn over time because I used to set up these huge like 30 by 30 farms, or just like whatever number by whatever number, and I would just make these huge farms, and it can become an issue because if I really need strawberry, I can actually just have them focus on, like, if I see like this one has like 20 ready to be picked and this one only has 2, I can actually just bump this back up to priority 2. But before, if I had a giant farm, they may not pick the fruit. They may just keep planting or whatever it is that they're doing, and I really need the food or something. That doesn't really become an issue later on. I will be in the thousands of food, and because my farmers will farm so fast, that means that more sunlight is hitting them during the times the sun is out, which means that they're growing more and faster. So I won't really have to worry about that at all. So even as my population increases, my food too will increase. And I need this lady to finish. She's making like she made a carpenter. A carpenter can make things out of planks, but they can't actually make planks. The reason I wanted to make a carpenter is because this crude workbench works so slow. It is just horrible. You can get your fastest person, with like 10 times more skill than the next person, put them on the crude workbench to make a plank, and it'll take them forever to make it versus somebody who can make it on a sawmill. But a sawmill requires a saw blade. I don't have a saw blade. That requires me to make a blacksmith or something along those lines, or I don't know. But point is, it requires so many steps to get there, and I really need them to be focusing on making this distillery. But I also need them to be making these stone cutters and stone masons because I want to be making blocks, because I want to make the highest quality of everything I can, and that means I want to have a lot of wood and I want to have a lot of blocks. And so blocks are better because you're taking the raw stone you're mining and you're taking it one step further, means it's worth a little bit more. Worth becomes very important when you start trading things, because you want, if I want, like, I can get like 200 logs from somebody, which is awesome. Well, I need to trade them something for it, and so if I have some maybe statues or something, maybe some gem necklaces that are worth a lot, then I can trade for those. So that's one important aspect of worth. The other important aspect, like I said before, is I want my total worth to go up, because as it goes up, I will get new gnomes, and I will also find new lands, and I will eventually host an ambassador from here. Ambassadors have to have their own personal space, which is cool. Um, but the other, and I think more important thing about worth is that I the more, or the higher the worth of the total room for your gnomes, means they'll get better rest, which means they can work longer before falling asleep. So as you can tell, everything you do will eventually lead to this: your gnomes are working almost non-stop. They need less sleep when they go into a higher value room, and that less sleep makes them work longer. So it's very important that we get those things, we're working towards those things and get those things set up. Eventually I will put some pathing in between these farms just to make them pop a little bit more, but I don't actually need it right now. Pathing, I used to think pathing increased the speed that your gnomes walk, but it doesn't, because they don't even follow the path, so there's no way that it could even have that effect. I don't think it might, but I don't need it right now anyway. So yeah, my farmers, I only have 2 of them, are just cranking out all this stuff. Now the cool thing about when you get new gnomes is you can make them all farmers, because you don't need any tools for it at all. So that is awesome, because if you did need tools, it would be very annoying to get new gnomes. But you don't, so you can, and I sometimes do, depending on how like in dire need I am of things. I will make all of my new gnomes farmers, and then I'll eventually take them off and make them do the things that I suppose they're meant to do. I'm gonna just make this complete and make this complete because there were those few. Now my woodcutters stopped cutting wood, but now they're just picking stuff up, which is fine by me. It's not a big deal. Oh, and also with hauling, see how she's just picking up a ton of it, and some of the people who have lower hauling will pick up like one piece of stone or dirt, and I don't know that they can stack anything other than dirt, but as their hauling increases, they can carry more things and carry it faster, and it'll weigh them down less. So, yeah, he's just picking up a bunch of stone, so he's got pretty decent hauling. And like later on, like I can call for my gnomes to come clean the floor, and a lot of them will like drop what they're doing and just come clean the floor. Like it's the most important thing ever. And people, you can just see the ones with high hauling, and it'll just get cleared out in like very very small amount of time. But yeah, so that's that. Just you know, really getting things underway. It takes quite a bit of time. It probably won't be till year 2 where everything's on like a factory basis, where it's just like I'm cranking things out and just cranking things out and cranking things out. So, yeah. But until then, I'm just starting with the basics and taking what I can get, I suppose. Ghostwood log. It's a new one. It's pretty cool. And I'm wondering what all of these logs will look like, because as you place them into different things, they look differently. So like what's really cool is depending on what plank they use and build the tables and stuff out of, it'll actually reflect that at the station. So I could tell her to only make planks out of a certain type of log, so it'll look a certain way. But I don't actually care. I have a lot of logs for some reason. I don't really know why. Not complaining at all. That's awesome. I like logs. So, but anyway, I don't actually need those guys to be doing what they're doing. So I will actually start clearing a little bit of land. Not too much. Well, I guess I could just go. I could just show a few farms. I don't really need to do all of them. So I'll get that, and then I will get, oh no, fell trees. You know, just get them cutting some trees out of the way. And I'll show you how I set up a farm. It's the way I do it. It's the way it's always worked for me. And I think it's really cool. But other people may not, but I do. So yeah, that's that. It's just kind of is what it is. But yeah. So yeah, they're clearing this out. I got my distillery up now. So this is what I was wanting to show everybody before. I don't have any grain, which is really bad. That may make me go back and craft on repeat. I just want them crafting as much beer as they possibly can. I never want them to stop crafting beer. And actually, before I forget, I'm going to make this priority number 1. So eventually, as they get wheat, they will be able to make beer. For some reason, I don't know why I don't really have any. Maybe it's because they need it to... That's what they plant with, which is unfortunate, but I don't really know. I don't really know what my farmers are even doing at this current moment, but whatever. They're doing something important, probably, maybe. But yeah, so... Oh, yeah, they're foraging. I told them to forage, duh. So, yeah, anyway, I don't exactly know why I don't have any grain. I've always had it in the past, but it's taken me a lot longer to clear out these logs. So as I said, I can make a well if I really need to on any water. Very important to note that the water needs to actually be right below the well. So it's basically at the same level. So if I look at this, um, I need to make sure that this water is actually up here, and I don't think it actually is. Oh, it is, because it still goes above the walls. But it can become very troublesome. Like if I mine out like this bottom layer below it, the water actually will be 2 layers below, and the well won't actually reach it. But if I do make a well, I will probably just make it on this little piece of water here. Maybe, yeah, it's 100% water, so we're good. And I will also show you how to make some water farms eventually. But you don't really need to make them now. Okay. So, all right. So, and there's very important things that I will actually talk about during the farms for the trees that are very important to note, because a lot of people think that you need to have like a certain do it a certain way, and I've learned that that's not actually true. Um, but I will get into more into detail as we get closer to that. And as you can see, the seasons are actually pretty long. We're only on day 8, so really we're doing pretty well in terms of days, and what we're doing. My total worth, I try to hit 10 to 15,000 before day 1, and I'm clearly gonna hit that. These gems are really making my worth jump up, and that's what I want. I want them to make my worth jump up, because I'm basically utilizing them. Even though they're sitting on the ground and they're not even in my stockpile, they're part of my stock, they're part of my worth. And if I look at it, they're worth 16, whereas if I look at a piece of coal, it is worth 1. So 1 gem is worth 16 pieces of coal, worth 8 pieces of tin, and worth 8 pieces of copper. So it's very, like, gems are worth a lot, and then I can eventually cut them into better gems. They'll be worth even more. I can make them into necklaces using some some uh, some metal and some cut gems, and it'll make it like it just astronomically worth more. That this, which is worth 16, and the 2 copper that are worth 2 will be worth 20, right? And then I smelt the copper into 1 bar, and the 2 copper into 1 bar, and I cut the gem, and the gem's worth 50 now instead of 16. The bar's worth, like, I think it goes up to 5. It's not. It's like, I mean, it's obviously worth like half of another ore altogether on the side, but it's not really worth that much. But when I put them together, instead of it being worth like 55, 60, even if they make a poor necklace, the worth will go up to like 200 and something. So it just multiplies by 4. If they make a really good one, it could be like worth like 500. So and then I will use those to barter later on. And so the cool thing is you don't really ever lose worth. It's pretty hard to lose worth. I'd basically just have to burn things, which you can't actually do, but I would have to just disappear everything, get it gone, which I wouldn't do at all. It doesn't make any sense to. But anyway, your worth just keeps going up because a log is worth, I'm sure it's worth 1. Yeah, worth 1, but when I cut it into a plank, let's see how much a plank is worth. A plank is worth 1. But anyway, point is, as I cut it and make it into a table, it'll be worth, those 4 planks will be worth, not 4, they'll be worth like 20. So things just keep increasing. You never lose worth, really, ever, except for, eating, like this apple. This apple's worth 1, and they'll eat it, so it'll go down. But trust me, I'm going to farm plenty more, so we'll be fine. But yeah, now they're almost done with the strawberry farm, which is good. I need them to be, because then they will start making the wheat farm, and all that will be growing. And as that's growing, I will be closer to my distillery. as I said, if I get close to 20 drink, I will be scared and I'll make a well, which is like an emergency. If they really need a drink, they can go grab it. But I'm pretty sure I'll be fine because summer's about to hit, and yeah, I think I'll be plenty fine. But anyway, that's it for now. We're getting one step closer to being able to make those farms, those tree farms I keep teasing you about. We will make them. We'll make them very soon, I promise. But yeah, thanks for stopping by for video number 3, and I hope to see you again in video 4.